Hi, everyone. This is episode 3 of Stolen Homes. And we left off last episode at, there was 3 weeks of peace. Turkey said, we're not going to attack anymore. Baba, you're still in the village. Hi, Baba.
Hi, Olympia.
Hi. So you're still in your home with Yaya and Bapu and your siblings. And you guys weren't super trusting, but they said, as in Turkey said, that there was going to be peace, and they were having conversations with Greece, like peace talks. And now this is August 14th. So this is where we're starting, 1974.
Yeah, but during these 3 weeks between the 22nd of July 1974 and the 14th of August, there was truce. We didn't attack them, but what the Turks were doing is that they kept unloading tanks and military personnel and all kinds of weapons on the northern shores of Cyprus near Kyrenia and Lapithos and Karavas, those 3 places. Kyrenia was a small town and Lapithos, Karavas were smaller towns.
Yeah.
And they kept unloading things. So they were preparing for something.
During the peace talks, they were doing
That's
that.
correct.
Wow.
And in fact, what they had also done is that they had overrun a couple of the villages that were there during that time of truce. And people fled and came to the non-occupied parts now of Cyprus, which were the rest of the island. And horror stories were told us, especially the last few days before the 14th, okay?
Okay.
Like between the 10th of August and the 14th of August, the Turkish troops began to activate and capture the small towns around them in the northern part, on the northern shores of Cyprus, close to Kyrenia.
Yeah.
And so we kept hearing these horror stories of rapes in the villages and all kinds of different things that the Turkish troops were doing. We didn't want to believe it, but we were all scared. Everybody was scared, really. We were hoping that the big powers, the British, the Americans, and of course, poor little Greece, who was also not that powerful, would do something and help us. And we were hoping that actually Greece will never abandon us. She was the motherland for us. She was the only protector that we could have was Greece. But of course, England. The British had control of Cyprus because they had 2 military bases in the southern part of Cyprus, which they still have to this day, which the Americans were also using at that time, and they're still using it today. So we were hoping, actually, that these superpowers will stop the Turks from
invading.
Yeah, from actually harming us, okay?
Right.
But they didn't. They didn't. They let them do it. And I can understand they let them do it, on July 20th, but there was no reason to let them actually do what they did on the 14th of August.
Why do you say you understand on July 20th?
I understand because it was kind of sudden. It was, it was like okay, the Turks did something. Nobody knew they would do it, which is really not true. Everybody knew. They encouraged them to do it, I think. But never mind. We could say that, okay, they started. But they didn't have to let them continue.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So they could have told them, stop, you're not going anywhere, and then have them negotiate something and give them a small base somewhere perhaps or whatever, something. But they didn't have to basically push half the population of Cyprus out of their homes and destroy their homes and destroy the churches and destroy the, the monuments and all the ancient sites and basically do a cleansing, an ethnic cleansing of the northern part of the island, and kill people the way they did, and rape people and destroy cemeteries and churches, and they didn't have to do that. Okay?
Yeah.
There had to be a better way to address this instead of the way they allowed them to do this, and that's my biggest disappointment, really. In all of this is that the people who are champions of freedom and champions of democracy and champions of fairness and whatever, and they claim to be to this day, they actually let the Turks do it with the weapons they gave them. Okay?
Yeah.
It was American weapons they used. It was British weapons they used. The British were just showing them where not to enter, where their bases were, but they allowed them to take the lands that belonged to us.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is really, I think, what really hurts me the most. And when I hear politicians speak about freedom and democracy and human rights, and they're all liars. They're all they're all just playing with the people's minds, and they don't do that. They never do that. Okay, rarely they would do the right thing, and they only do it for their own reasons, for their own
benefiting
interests.
themselves.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the 14th, we had this. We were worried about this. We were really worried that something would happen. Yeah. So during those 3 weeks, actually, I think I spoke about it before. We dug a makeshift bomb shelter, sort of, which we covered with logs and soil. And it was an emergency kind of thing, because they bombed us during the first round of the invasion. We were afraid, and planes came over us many times during this time. So Turkey was violating the airspace of Cyprus continually during those 3 weeks. They were just they were doing reconnaissance flights, and they were just mapping everything out and preparing for the big the big run that they did.
Exactly.
Which anyway, so we built that thing, and we were thinking about using it if we needed to. So on the 14th, what happened is that I volunteered with the same group of people that we were the first time. Not the same; they were not all the same, because some of them left and went to their units, and the ones who were actually they were supposed to have to be part of the military. They went to their military.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, units, and but there were about 10 of us, I think. Okay, that were not draftable, or they were able to be there, and we had acquired some anti-aircraft machine guns. Okay, a very big one, and then a couple of smaller ones. And so I left the house in the morning. I joined the group again. I told my parents I was going, and
this time they knew.
and this time what we were going to do was to go to the nearby hills, which overlooked the plains looking toward the west, toward Nicosia.
Okay.
And the purpose was to basically install the machine guns, the anti-aircraft machine guns, with the thinking that we could actually fire at the planes if they came to bomb Marathounos again.
Yeah.
And so we were up on the hills called Anefani. Okay, it was part of our.
That's cool.
Yeah, the part of Marathounos. Was my father had some fields on that side too.
That's cool.
And there was a nice little forest. We call it Rasagi, and when we were in school, the teachers would take us there for little picnics. It was very nice.
They did that to us too.
Yeah. So we.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we went up on the hills, and we found some really nice location that we could put the machine guns in it, and we actually positioned them so that we can do a kind of a 360 monitoring of the air, of the skies, and of course I was not the one who was capable of doing all of this. I was just assisting, kind of. I would be the
bringing ammo.
Yeah, the ammo guy. To helping out with the ammo and anyway, and making it easier for the guys that knew how to use the machine guns.
Right.
So, I'm on the. We're on the hills, and we're in that place which was kind of protected in some ways, because it was like a cave area where it's kind of rounded, and we were in the middle.
Like sheltered almost.
Yeah, almost sheltered. So if say they dropped something against our position, we would be able to be protected from the explosion, because we're lower level. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the idea. It was very well positioned, and so we established our position. We sat there, and then planes will come, And they would fly over us and fly over Marathovonos, our village, but we wouldn't shoot at them. We just left them alone.
Okay.
And we were only supposed to hit them if they attacked. If we saw them dropping bombs, then we would hit them. We would try.
They would have to go first, basically.
Yeah. We will not start
and then
this.
you would,
We will not start this.
That's
That was
smart.
that was the plan. Okay, and we all knew that was the plan. We're not supposed to shoot unless
They shoot first.
Yeah. So we're there waiting, and this is about the middle of the day.
Okay.
We see trucks, military trucks, coming from the main road. We could see the main road from the run from Lefkosia to Amochostos, Nicosia to Famagusta. We could see the main road from our location. We're up on the hill. It's about a mile away or so. And we could see these trucks coming along the main road, military trucks. And some of them turned around and took the road and came toward us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these were the National Guard, the Cyprus National Guard. These were Greek
they were
Cypriots.
Cypriots, yeah.
So they came up to the hill, and we asked them what was going on. And they said, we have been sent to set a line of defense on these hills. Okay, welcome. So they had some really, there were some big cannon, anti-tank cannons.
Interesting.
Anti-tank, which means that they were thinking that they will have to confront the tanks.
Yeah.
And so they started setting their equipment and kind of trying to prepare a defense line, and they spread out.
Did they let you guys stay there?
Oh yeah, we didn't go anywhere. We just stayed there, and they set up next to us, and they kind of created a line of defense.
So they let you be a part of it. Well, that's interesting.
Well, of course, we were part of it. We were sent there too, so we were.
Right.
We're not the regular troops, but we were supporting the regular troops.
Yeah,
That's what we did the first time too.
Yeah.
So we were in
that's
cooperation, but now these guys, they were fleeing the front line. That's what we didn't realize completely, that they were sending them because somewhere the front line broke. Okay? What happened was, and this is now, we didn't know exactly what's happening, so we turned the radio on, the RIK, the Cyprus radio station, the government radio station, this Greek station, and we turned it on, and they would not tell us anything.
Oh, wow.
So you know what we did? We were not sure what was happening. Planes were coming back and forth and kind of flying all over us. And we were wondering what on earth was happening, because our radio would not say anything, and we didn't get any communication from the military.
Yeah.
So we turned the Turkish radio station on.
No way.
Yes. There was a Turkish radio station that had a Greek program.
Really?
Yes.
What?
And we listened to them.
Oh my goodness.
And they told us, they were talking about what was happening.
Yeah.
And they were saying that the military troops had unleashed an on all fronts attack on the Greeks, and they were reclaiming the island. They would not even say how much of the island, they didn't know. They just, So what they had done is that they defeated all our troops that were on the mountains of Pentadactylos, which were overlooking over their positions.
Okay.
They had hit them with planes overnight, early in the morning. As soon as the light came out, they hit them with planes, with fire from the air. They hit them with fire from the ground. They basically dissolved all of the resistance on the mountain.
Oh, wow.
The tanks came over the mountain and headed for Lefkosia.
Oh, wow.
They entered, they went around the Lefkosia was divided into Turkish and Greek. So they went around some of the troops went into the Turkish part of Lefkosia, but the tanks could not really go into the city. So what they did is they went around the city, Lefkosia, and they headed east. They split into two parts.
Okay.
Half of them went west toward the town of Morphou, which is on the west coast of Cyprus, and the other half started coming east toward our positions.
Okay.
And toward Famagusta. They wanted to go to Amochostos and capture this part of the island. So what they did was that they split into two and they were heading. Of course, this was told to us by the Turkish radio station called Bayrak.
Oh, wow.
That was the name of it. So Bayrak was the guy. He's also making fun of us and making fun of the Greek troops that were running away, and all kinds of different things. Anyway, so it was really very heartbreaking to hear that.
Yeah.
So we were kind of praying and saying, somebody will come to our help. Somebody has to come to our help. It's like, this cannot happen.
Somebody's going to rescue us. Yeah.
Yes, this cannot happen.
Yeah.
Well, about 2 o'clock maybe, around 2 o'clock maybe, we could see spots on this was summertime. The land is dry. Cyprus is like a desert in the summer. Everything is dry.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking on the plains. We're on the hill, looking out, and this hill kind of cuts the plains of Messauria, the central part of the island, cuts it into two.
Yeah.
So on one side is Lefkosia area, on the other side is the Amochostos area.
Yeah.
So we're on the plains, and we can see on the east there is nothing. Of course, on the west, the flat plain, you can see all the way to Lefkosia, 15 miles away.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we see in the on the horizon, all right, about 5 miles away, maybe 10 miles away, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, it was, 10 miles was Lefkosia, probably 5-6 miles away. We could see, starting from the highway, the main road connecting Lefkosia to Amochostos, we can see spots of dust rising in the air. And we can see something moving on the ground, creating the dust.
Okay.
Next to it, there's another one. Next to it, there's another one. Next to it, there's another one. Okay. So I didn't know what it was. The others were saying, "What on earth is happening?" And one of the guys that was really he was in the Green Berets. He was a commando, and he was well trained, and he happened to stay behind, and he was with us. And he was with us until the end. And then he stayed behind, and we lost him. And he got lost. He was probably taken by the Turks.
Jeez.
He was definitely taken by the Turks. But he was with us until that moment. And he looked at us and he says, "These are tanks."
What?
Yes, these are tanks. We're so far away, we cannot really.
But they look like dust because how far away
there are little things in the horizon with dust rising from them because they are running.
I see.
They're running.
Yeah, they're lifting up the dust.
Yeah, they're lifting up the dust.
Yeah.
So, and they were next to each other. The whole horizon was filled with this.
Oh my God! With tanks, little tiny dots that were
actually tanks, and they were all coming toward us.
Oh my God! Yeah. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we thought about it for a little bit. Everybody thought about it for a little bit, and then we looked at the planes over us, and we said maybe these are Greek planes.
Yeah.
Because they're not hitting us,
Right.
Maybe they're whatever else, I mean, we're kind of hoping and praying that maybe Greece would come.
Yeah.
We turned Bayrak on, and Bayrak is making fun of us and saying,
"Oh no,
your mother is not a mother; she's a stepmother, and she's not coming to help you."
Oh my! Are you serious?
Yeah, he was making fun of us.
You've never said that story before.
Oh yeah, it was very sad. So
Wait,
everybody
was a Turk who knew Greek?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a Turkish radio station that was in Greek, and the Greek radio station had a program in Greek at the time too. I mean in Turkish. But this particular guy.
But you remember that so.
Oh yeah, I mean it's particular. We used to listen to him. We used to listen to him because I mean sometimes he was funny, sometimes he was, and he was the same guy. Okay, and this time, he was really funny, but making fun of us.
Was that radio? Was he in Cyprus? On the radio talking like that while this was going on?
Yeah.
What the heck? That is disgusting.
And we well, I mean,
come on, you're on the island and people
he was celebrating because, we were the weak ones right now, and he was on the top of the and of course he knew exactly what was going on, and we had no idea.
That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Which is
but
even
we're
more
learning,
sick.
Yeah.
It's even sicker than.
But we're learning what's happening. We learned from him that these are Turkish tanks.
You learned from a Turk in Greek that those are Turkish tanks. Who is making fun of you?
Because he told us that the tanks have been unleashed to reclaim Cyprus. Basically, that was the idea.
Reclaim. Why do they keep using that language?
Because the Ottoman Empire had Cyprus for some time.
Okay.
They're reclaiming it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, that's a key thing. I think we all need to know. That's very important.
Well, you have to realize that the Turks want to recreate their great Ottoman Empire.
the Ottoman
Even today, the present government, Erdogan, his dream is to recreate the Ottoman Empire. He even built a palace with 1,000 rooms in Ankara.
Oh, wow.
Okay, he's making himself the great sultan. So anyway, but and of course there is something else in Islam which is very important, which I think that Greek Cypriots and Greeks to this day have ignored, and others are not probably aware of it.
Yeah.
That when Islam captures a land, it makes it a land of Islam, and that's glory to Allah. When Islam loses a land, that is shame, and that is anathema. So the future generations of Islam have a kind of a requirement, and they have an obligation to recapture those lost lands that Islam has lost. So, that is in the background religiously. Of course, there is also the ethnic part, there is also the political power, there is also strategic power.
There's a lot of things going on.
A lot of things going on, but in the background, there is this.
You have those factors.
This theological thing, which I didn't know about it until I learned theology and I studied Islam in a more deeper way. But that reclaim is what we're talking about. And anyway, so yes, so we're on the hill. We have these huge weapons, and we are seeing the tanks coming, and they're like 6-7 miles away. They're not
debating
very far.
on what you're gonna do. Yeah,
they'll be catching up with us. I mean, they're probably going 5 miles an hour or something. They're not going very fast.
6 miles though isn't
6
that
miles
far.
They would be there they were there within the hour.
Yeah.
And within the hour we left. All right. So what we did is that we looked at each other, we discussed what we can do, and we decided that the best thing to do is to pack up everything we have on the truck. We had a truck. It was a private truck. It was a civilian truck. So pack everything on the truck, get on the truck ourselves, and there was another 2 cars or whatever. Get on the cars and run down to Marathophonos, and at least tell everybody to leave.
Yeah.
And inform our families and inform others.
Evacuate.
Evacuate.
Yeah.
The Turks are coming. Basically, that was the. Anyway, so we.
You got in the trucks and you went to.
We got on the truck and we headed down to the village, and we headed down to the square of the village where the coffee shops were, and we got off the truck and we went around and told everybody that. The Turks,
was it like
Turkish
chaos?
tanks
Were you like screaming? Were you
No.
guys yelling, or were you just calmly being like, "Hey, I think we need to go.
Yeah,
This
we're
isn't safe anymore."
very calm, and we just walked around and said, "Look, Turkish tanks are coming. We need to get out of here." And people knew that this would be the case if they were coming, because, I mean, we heard the stories from the previous places.
Right, of the villages around you.
Yeah. And there was no way that people would want to stay behind. It's.
No, why would you even risk it at that point after hearing
So,
that stuff?
There was one of the guys that was with me. We were a total of about 10, but we split off and we kind of went each way. And there was one guy that stayed with me that he had access to a car that was parked right in the square.
Okay.
So I said to him, look, Kyriakos was his name. I said, Kyriako, we need to go tell my parents.
You hadn't told your parents yet?
Well, yes, because I was on the hill.
Oh.
We tell them
you
about.
had to go. Yeah.
I said we need to inform my parents and the neighbors wherever, and already some people had left Marathophonos. Okay, early in the morning when they saw the planes and they heard what was happening in in Kerinia and Lefkosia, they just took off and they went south.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knew where they're going, but I think they were leaving also with the hope that they will stay overnight until everything stops and then
come back home.
Then come home.
Yeah.
Then the military was in Chados, the village that we captured the first 3 days. There was a military unit there. So that military unit was still there. But somehow they got the message as well. So by the time I went to the house and by the time we exited the village, the military unit was also leaving. Everybody was leaving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They packed everything and they just head south.
Do you remember when you told Yaya and Bapu about
Yes.
it?
Yes. So what we did is that we got in the car. The other guy drove. He had a license, a driving license. I didn't.
Yeah.
So who cared about the driving license
I
at
was
this
gonna-
point. But
yeah, that doesn't
you know,
even
I was not the driver. I didn't know how to drive. So we got in the car. He drove to our house, and I went inside. I went through the doors, the big doors where my grandfather used to live, and walked into the yard immediately as you enter. And I started, calling them. I said, "Papa, Mama,
We need to go.
where are you? Where are you?" And for like 2 or 3 minutes, I was going around and there's nobody there.
Oh, weird.
So I said to myself, they must have left. But I said,
No.
I need to make sure. I cannot leave like that. I went throughout the house and I couldn't find them. I came out into the yard, and then it occurred to me that we had
The little shelter.
the little shelter. And it occurred to me that we were, when we building the shelter and when we were discussing the use of the shelter, we said that if any time planes come over us, we
we're
will
gonna go in the shelter.
seek refuge in the shelter, protection. And
That's a good
so
idea.
there was a wall and a door between where the shelter in the further back of the yard, the other yard, another yard. So I went through the door and I called them and I said, "Papa, Mama, where are you?" It's and so they answered from the shelter.
Okay, good. There they
I said,
were.
"Please come out."
Aw, yeah.
So
Was Thea Varvara there too?
yes, it was Papua New Guinea and Thea Varvara and Theo Stelios.
But Theo Theodoros was...
Theo Theodoros was in the military, serving officially, doing
Was
his...
he on the front line?
He was on the front line in Amohostos. So what they did that day, they also packed everything and left Amohostos. They asked them to leave.
But you didn't really know if he
But
was
we didn't
okay,
know.
like what was going on necessarily with him specifically.
Well, we had no idea
all of
where
this.
he was at the time, on what he was doing.
And this is the older brother, in case anybody forgot.
Yeah, my older brother, Theodoros.
Yeah.
Now, I talked to Stelios today, and I was telling him that we're doing this podcast. And I asked him, where were you when I was in Jados, when I was in the front line, on the front line in Jados?
On episode 2 when we talked about it.
Yeah. During the first 3 days of the...
Okay, yeah, where was he?
Well, he reminded me that he was actually bringing food and water to us.
What?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He was one of the youngsters that were kind of brought together to create a team to supply us with food and water.
How old was he?
He couldn't remember that I was in that group.
Well, you didn't remember he was in that group, so... But how old was Theo Stelio
15. He was about 15.
Yeah, you're only 4
So
years.
I asked him today. I said, "Where were you?" And he says, I remember." He says, "When they shelled us, the one moment that they shelled us, I was around the cemetery, and I had just delivered food and water to the our people that were, the military people that were on the front line in Jados."
Yeah.
And I said, "I was part of that." He says, "Yes, you were."
Oh my gosh.
So-
Wow.
So we finally solved that problem. Anyway, so now this is the 14th of August, and they're in the shelter, and I arrive, and I call them out, and my father comes out, and I went to my father immediately, and I said in a very calm voice, and I said, "Papa, let's get out of here. The Turks are coming."
Okay. What was his
He
reaction?
says, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, we saw the tanks."
Yeah.
He says, "Where?" I says, "They're coming from the direction of Lefkosia, and we were on Anefani, on the hills, and we saw them. They're lined up." I said,
Coming straight for us.
straight for us.
Yeah.
And not, in addition to that, this is the other interesting thing, is that as we drove down from the hills in the truck, I was in the back of the truck, in the open flat base of the truck, with the weapons that we had, along with the others, and a couple of people in the front driving.
Yeah.
And we were coming down, and as we passed the school, which was in the west part of the village, there are explosions around us.
Oh, wow.
They are shelling us from, I don't know which direction, probably from Jados.
From the airplanes, you think, up above?
Not from the planes. They were not from planes, because there was a time when the planes were not there at that moment.
Present.
But they were shelling us with, it was either the tanks shooting from that direction.
Possible. Yeah, that's very possible.
And these, we were just going down like about 35 miles an hour down the road. And explosions on the right and explosions on the left, and we're
So
just
is it
running right
shaking
through.
you guys? Because that must
Well,
have been...
that of course unsettled us, and
Of course.
and that's why we were sure now that we were in danger.
Yes, for sure.
So this was not something to take lightly.
Yeah.
So that's why we told everybody, and we told them they were shelling us. So I told my father too. I said, not only I saw the tanks coming and they're all lined up, but they were also shelling us as we came down from the hills, and
actively attacking.
And immediately he says, let me grab my shotgun. He had his shotgun in the back. And then he went back and called my mother out and the kids from the shelter.
Yeah.
They came out, and I said to my mother, take whatever valuable you might have immediately, like if you have any cash or anything at home.
Yeah,
take it
with you
because we're leaving.
Yeah.
And she took a jar of water so that we can have water. It was summertime. It was hot. And she took
did she bring any food or anything? Did anybody grab food?
No.
Okay.
No, there was no food. We didn't take any food at all.
Yeah, but you brought water.
But she took water. And then we all kind of got together in the yard, in the middle yard of the village, of the house, and then we exited toward the car. And then she locked the doors and took the keys and put her in the pocket.
Yeah.
And she brought them, and she had them for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
she had them when we were growing up in a...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she locked the doors.
I bet you all of the families did that with the idea of like, oh, we'll go back someday. They probably all brought their keys with them to wherever they had to resettle.
Yeah.
Was anybody, was Tia Barbara or was Yaya, was anybody might be a silly question, not panicking, but panicking? Like, was anybody falling apart at the scenes at this point?
No,
or were
nobody
you guys
was
just
falling
on a
apart.
mission to make it out to be okay?
Nobody was falling apart.
Okay.
Everybody was very calm. I mean, as I said, unsettled and not knowing exactly what was happening.
Your adrenaline is rushing. Yeah. But you're not no one was
nobody was crying. Nobody was falling apart. Nobody was fainting. Nothing. It was like, let's go. Okay, let's get in this car and let's go.
Yeah.
And as we went down the street, we called the neighbors, and a woman with her child came and packed herself into this car too. So it was like 7 of us, or 5?
I think it's
7, 8 actually in this car that is like sitting on each other.
Oh.
Of course,
what else are you gonna do?
The kids were smaller, Barbara was smaller, and the child of the other woman was smaller. But we packed ourselves in this car, and then the question is, where are we going?
Yeah, where did you
go?
So
let's go southwards. So we went through.
Okay.
We followed the road that went to our the orchard that we owned, which takes us down south, straight south.
So if you're looking at a map, you're going this way from the green.
Yes, we're going straight south from Marathouvenos.
Okay.
Toward the highway that connects Lefkosia with Amochastos. And as we exit, as we're moving in that direction, we encounter the troops from Jados, our troops,
your own troops,
that were based on Jados during these 3 weeks, that entered Jados, the Turkish village, during the first attack that we entered their base, the military base there.
Okay.
And they're also leaving. So that was confirmation for us that we had to go.
That this was a good decision.
Yes, it was a good decision because we knew if the military were leaving, they were asked to leave. Therefore, they knew that there was no resistance they can put up.
Yeah.
And so by this time, a radio station started giving us some faint idea of what was happening without telling us exactly what was happening. They were saying that our troops are retreating.
Yeah. That was all they were saying?
Yes. The troops are retreating very smoothly.
Really?
The troops are retreating very smoothly.
Wow.
Which was telling us that they were not putting up a defense.
I wonder why they didn't even have the radio working for you guys to know what was going on before, though.
Well, the radio was working. It's just they didn't want to tell us. They didn't want to spread panic among people. They didn't want to say to people, leave your homes. They never did that. They never said anything like that.
Interesting.
But they were giving us the hints that the troops were retreating, and then we need to figure out what to do.
Gotcha.
And we got the message.
We
just got out. Very few people stayed behind. Some people did in Marathouvenos, for example. They were arrested and they were kept.
Really?
Yes, and they were and some of the women were molested actually. But anyway, and then we learned what happened to the church, and we learned what happened to the icons from that. Because what they did is that they eventually the troops entered. They didn't enter that. The troops did not enter that night. Okay. But they bombed the village that night. They shelled it. The tanks shelled it. They attacked it from every direction that they could. And the people who stayed behind, about 70 people maybe, out of 2,500 people. The 70 that stayed behind, they saw the Turkish troops coming in the next day on the 15th, and they told us, and when they were released, they told us a story. None of those died. They were not killed.
Interesting.
But we lost the young man that was the commando, that he was a... And we suspect that he must have gone and tried to... there were two I guess, theories. That one is that he encountered the Turks and he had a weapon with him, so he tried to attack them or defend himself or whatever, and he was killed. Or they arrested him, and when they realized that he was a soldier and a trained soldier, they killed him at some point. Because he was armed. He had He had a weapon. He had an automatic weapon and probably a pistol. So he was anyway. So we lost him. He was lost. We never. And his family, poor family, for years they were waiting for him.
Really?
And they never found out anything. Nothing. Not a single
They never
thing.
even found his body.
No, they don't. They didn't know whether he was alive or dead, because there were a lot of soldiers that were taken prisoners, and a lot of them taken prisoners to Turkey. They suffered terribly. In Turkey, they would force them to drink their own urine.
And they tortured them. They tortured them.
They would not give them food or drink. They would put them, like 30 of them, in one room. And they had no place to lie down. They had no place to go to the bathroom. They starved them, and then they would throw a piece of bread from a hole in the door.
Let them
fight it out and kill each other. And I mean, it was really, some of these guys were never normal after they came back.
Right? How?
Some of these guys, they died early. And I know there is one particular one that I know. I knew him very well. I knew him. I met him in New York also when we were students. I was friends with his family and friends with his brother. And I saw him recently in Cyprus. He's better now, but for years he was depressed. He was psychologically unbalanced. He was, and he was one of those that were treated that way in Turkey.
So course, he told you guys too what happened to them.
He told us some things. And the other one that I knew quite well, and I got to talk to him. He died when he was like 32 years old.
Oh my God, he was so young.
He died maybe 35. He kind of suffered terribly, and then he was so depressed, and so because they took their dignity away, they basically tortured them.
They tortured them
psychologically and physically. And
absolutely.
A lot of our soldiers were executed cold blood, and they were buried in mass graves, and now they're discovering them. There were close to 2,000 soldiers and young people who thought they were soldiers, and they took them. Like a classmate of mine from the English school. He was lost, and nobody really knew for a long time. And I think, if I remember correctly, he was. Because he was kind of big, and they thought that he was older than he was. He was younger than me, but they thought that he was older. He was like 16, but they thought that he was in his 20s because he was a big guy. They probably took him that he was a soldier, and and eventually they killed him. So he got lost, and many others. I mean, it's
how many people total evacuated the northern part of Cyprus? I don't think we said that yet.
Close to 2,000 people.
And then
200,000.
200,000. Just your little village was 2,000.
2,000.
So 200,000. And then there's a number, and I don't remember now if it was 1,000 or 8,000, but there's a number of missing people. They still don't know. Do you know that number? I don't remember.
Well, originally it was like close to 2,000.
Okay.
And in the recent 10 years or so, maybe 15 years, what they have done is that they managed to get the United Nations involved, and they did excavations in the places where
They're still trying to.
some people remembered that they had executed them, and so they found almost 1,000 of them.
Okay.
And they identified them with the DNA testing. But there's still, I think,
they're still missing
900 something people like still missing who nobody knows where they are.
And those families don't know.
And those families don't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
But most of our people were killed on the 24th. I'm sorry, on the 14th and the 15th of August.
Okay.
Most of our young people, mostly soldiers.
Yeah.
And other youngsters that they were taken for soldiers, or they just, they arrested them, because they arrested all the men if they found them, and they killed whomever they thought was a danger or was they suspected them of being. So this is basically what was going on, and we were fleeing, and as we were just driving down, going south and toward the highway between Lefkosia and Amoghostos, others from the village were coming and heading that direction. And then the soldiers, as I said, were also leaving. And finally we came to the highway.
Okay.
And we took a left turn and headed for Amoghostos. And that was another 15 miles probably that we drove to get to Amoghostos.
Yeah.
And other cars were going in that direction. Many cars were going in that direction. Some other cars went further south toward the other villages that were south of Marathouvenos. And there were, from what I learned later, there were Turkish tanks on that side too. So a lot of those were captured or pushed to go further south.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we headed for Amoghostos, and while we're driving toward Amoghostos, planes are flying over us. But we didn't stop. We figured if they wanted to kill us, they could kill us any time. So
right.
Just keep going, okay?
Jeez. Yeah.
So we kept going, and we reached the outskirts of Amoghostos, Famagusta, and we decided to take a right turn and go around the city and head for wherever in that direction, because we could see from where we're driving that planes were basically diving right over the harbor of Amoghostos and dropping bombs.
Oh, okay.
And this was continually happening while we're driving. We could see that as we get closer and closer. And then as we took a right turn and went south, bypassing Amoghostos, and we could still see the planes diving down and coming up. And then you could hear explosions. You could see smoke coming out. And, it was like we knew that they were bombing probably the harbor and other things. And later we found out that they bombed hotels. They bombed other places on the coast, okay? And there were many people got killed.
The beautiful coast.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
The most beautiful coast
of Cyprus.
Coast. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, those hotels are still standing, broken, and to this day.
It's a ghost town.
Yeah, and Amoghostos is a ghost town.
Yeah.
Famagusta is a ghost town.
Yeah.
And the Turks are playing games with it, and they're trying to get us to agree to certain things so that they can give us Amoghostos, and then they're not going to give it to us, and then they've done it 10 times probably since. I remember in the 45 years that they're kind of playing Amoghostos as a
well, they're like
card.
hanging it,
hanging it as a carrot and saying, give us all of these things and then we'll give you Amoghostos. And then every time the things they ask for are more and more. So over the years, the carrot gets smaller.
Yeah. And the deal got bigger.
And the things that they want get bigger and bigger. Yeah. Anyway, so that's another story.
Yeah.
So we're driving west of Amoghostos, going south and bypassing it, and we head for the Rinya. We go right through the Rinya.
Okay.
And we keep going, and we reach Paralimni.
Okay.
We enter Paralimni. We drive right through Paralimni.
Jeez.
And we ended up on the southern part of Paralimni. And there was a school there, the third public school, the Trito Dimotiko, third public school, just elementary school, the third elementary school.
Okay.
And the driver says, you know what, let's rest here, okay? Let's just, yeah. So we went there are no planes coming. We passed the bombing of Famagusta. We are, kind of, let's take a breathing, breath.
Breather,
breather.
Yeah.
And he drives into the courtyard of the school, and this is now the 14th of August. He drives into the courtyard.
It's the same day, yeah.
We come out. We'll be driving for almost an hour right now, or probably an hour.
Yeah.
And
it is
it's probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of stiff in the sitting on each other. So we come out.
I forgot there were like 8 of you in this small car.
Yeah. We come out. We walk around, and then.
Were there other people there?
No, we were the first ones to arrive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was still early.
Yeah. Still early. And what happened is that I knew somebody that was with me in the group that was with me on the front line in Chalos. I knew his name, so I went around, I asked, and I found his house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I told him that we were running. He stood in the door with his wife. He never invited us in.
Oh.
He never...
He never gave you food. He never gave
us anything. He never offered anything. He just stood in the door and didn't even invite us in. So after we said, we're here. We're in the third.
Oh my God.
The third elementary school. He closed the door. We left.
Oh my.
And we said, what are we gonna do?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No refuge.
He was the guy who was the brand man on our team. The guy who was holding the brand gun, the brand machine gun.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But I was supplying him with.
You were giving him ammo and stuff.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even give you water.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't ask for anything. I just said.
You told them we've escaped, like we've left.
That's
now.
it. We're left with nothing, And
oh my God.
And we said that.
That's heartbreaking.
We saw the tanks, we saw the Turks, and it's just like, okay, goodbye.
What?
So we left and went back. So I don't know exactly how another older man came.
Okay.
And
was he nicer?
And brought us. He was very nice.
Okay,
he saw us walking around. I don't know exactly how he discovered that we're there.
Aww.
He came with a bag and he had bread in it, and he had halloumi cheese in it, and he had tomatoes and cucumbers, whatever. So he gave it to us, and we were so hungry.
Oh God! Of course.
Okay, we ate.
Okay.
So that's our first meal.
Halloumi, tomato, cucumber bread.
As refugees.
Oh, wow.
First meal as refugees. So anyway, so within a couple of hours, more people are coming. Okay. Now, the Carpathia district, the peninsula of Carpathia is emptying out, basically. And a lot of people are leaving from the villages in Carpathia.
Coming towards you guys, like where you guys are.
Yeah, because they got the same message. They saw the tanks.
Yes.
The tanks kind of continued from Chalos all the way to Amojostos, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And basically what happened is that the people were warned at some point and started leaving. And so we started getting the wave of refugees that were coming in this direction.
Wow.
And there were cars, private cars, and there was a truck full of people. A big truck full of people. In the back base, what do you call it? Yeah.
I can't think of the word either.
So where you put the car going, the truck, it was full of people. So, so first we thought, as the night was coming, I mean, there were hundreds of people that came, hundreds of people. They kept coming until it was dark, and finally there was nobody else coming, and the school, the gym of the school, we found the exercise mats, and we just kind of laid them all over the place.
Oh my God.
But there were so many people that it was hard to get people to have a place to sleep.
Yeah.
So people took turns and they lied down a little bit, and after I was so exhausted from everything, and I was so emotionally exhausted, and I could not really lie down. I could not stand the noise that everybody was kind of making. So I just left and went outside and laid against the wall outside to keep my back kind of supported, and I stayed like that throughout the night.
So you never went back inside?
I never went back inside. I mean, there was no reason to be inside.
You needed some
So in the morning,
quiet time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the morning, the driver that brought us there
Yeah.
and the woman with the child, our neighbor,
Yeah.
they needed to find their families.
Oh yeah.
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 So they got up in the morning and they came to my father and myself and they said, I need to go find my husband and my kids.
Oh my God.
And the guy says, okay, I'll take you and we'll go and see where they might be. We'll just go and search, and find them. This was terrible. This was really terrible.
Yeah. What?
Anyway, so we agreed that they would leave, and now we don't have a car. So
But did you ever hear from them again?
oh yes, I don't think I ever met them after that, but I heard that eventually we heard that she found her husband, he found his parents and his
Thank
family,
God.
and they got reunited.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we learned that they were okay.
Okay, good.
But for days we didn't know what happened. And
Right, yeah,
it
of
took
course
us- it
not.
took
How
us-
are you going to know?
Yeah, it took us
Yeah.
many days to figure it out
Yeah.
and to find out what happened to them. But
Right.
but I, we were sure they will,
Eventually.
eventually reconnect with their relatives. So,
So you didn't have a car because you left
So
to
we
go
didn't have a
help her
car.
search. Yeah.
yeah, so this is the 15th now of August, and we have no place to go, and there's no way that we're going to stay in that school.
No.
Okay. Because there is no,
Right.
there's nothing to do in the
There's
school.
nothing
and there's
there
no,
for you
there's
anyway.
nothing there. But for that night, that school was our home, and that
Yeah.
school was a shelter for us, and,
Yeah.
and that was good. So, at some point, probably later in the morning, the driver with the truck that brought those people
Yeah.
decided that he wants to take them further south to Ayanapa. Okay, this is Paralimni. Ayanapa is south of Paralimni. So, and that's by the coast. That's by the most southeastern coast of Cyprus. Okay, right at the edge is Ayanapa. So, and at that time, Ayanapa was a small village of about 300 families. They were mostly farmers and
Fishermen.
ship fishermen. And but the coast was very beautiful, and
It still
there was a
is.
small
It's still so
Yeah.
pretty.
and there was a small harbor for the fishermen, Limanagi.
yeah.
And, it's a very quaint place. It's a very beautiful, quaint place.
Yeah.
And we didn't know where in Ayanapa we will end up. We had no idea, but the driver did, because he was from the same village as the owner of a new hotel that was being built, Nisi Beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Classic Nisi Beach.
So and some of the people on the truck were related to the owner.
Oh wow.
Okay, but the hotel was unfinished. So
Yeah.
anyway,
It
so
was just concrete, cement.
it was all cement.
Yeah.
Okay, but there were some bungalows, just private kind of things on the
On the sand.
on the sand.
Yeah.
And there was like a restaurant right on the water
Yeah.
with a kitchen and
But the one that I went to, I'm just kidding. It's probably not the same one I went to.
yes, the one that we
It
always
is
go
the
to.
same
when
one?
we- yeah.
Oh, okay. See?
Yeah, it's the same restaurant.
Yeah. Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the same place. That's crazy.
And the chef of that restaurant was related to these people too, and related to the owner.
Yeah.
The owner was in Greece, had been in Greece for many years.
Yeah.
Anyways, so to make the long story short, we having nowhere else to go and having no place to call home and having no destination that we could actually ask for.
And you had never visited Ayanapa before.
Never.
Yeah.
So
It's totally new to
we
you.
get on the truck.
Yeah.
It was a small conversation with my father and my mother, and we all got on the truck and we went with these people wherever they take us. Okay.
Risk takers.
Yeah,
for
because
real.
the others who were not with the truck, they had their own cars
Gotcha. Okay.
or other vehicles. I don't know what they had, but
Yeah.
those on the truck were all dependent on the truck driver.
I see.
So we all got on the truck, and we all headed for Ayanapa
Straight for Nisi Beach.
and straight for Nice Beach. We had no idea. I did not know exactly. Nobody really
Yeah.
from us. No one knew about Nice Beach or anything about it.
Yeah.
So we got on the truck and we went right through Ayanapa. We saw the old monastery, went around it, and took the road to Nice Beach. It was a very narrow road in those days. There was hardly anything there. There was nothing there except the monastery in the center and a few homes of the villagers.
Yeah.
And we arrived by the time we arrived, it was late afternoon. I don't remember what time it was. It was probably late afternoon.
Yeah.
And we arrived there, and they unloaded us from the truck.
Yeah. Onto a cement.
Onto
Bare
the front
bones
of this bare bone cement structure that had no doors or windows or anything. It was all open. There were several floors, but they suggested that the safest place to be would be where the kitchen area is, which had more protection from the wind, because later in the evening the wind was very strong coming from the sea, and it was kind of cold too.
It is cold.
So
yeah.
So we ended up in the kitchen. So what we did was we scouted around, and we went and found these big cardboard boxes. We opened them up, and we laid them on the floor. Every floor that we could basically claim. And some of the relatives of the owners of the hotel, I think what they did is that they put them in bungalows. Like the mother and father of the owner or something, people like that. And we didn't know who they were, and we had no idea at the time. But they put them in the bungalows, and the rest of us, probably 50, 60 people.
Have I met these people? Have I met the owners?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know that particular family that like had that experience with you. Or do I?
No, you don't know them. I don't think you know them. Even if you met them, you really didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what we did was we basically those 40, 50, 60 people, whoever it was, that we ended up without a place to stay. We ended up in the kitchen area. We put down the cardboard boxes. We figure out each family takes a little corner, and with a limited space. And again, we would take turns at night sleeping because there was enough.
On the cardboard.
Yeah, on the cardboard. Yeah, because there was enough space.
On the concrete.
Yes.
Cardboard on concrete.
Cardboard on concrete.
That's horrible.
With open doors, the wind blowing. But we were protected from the wind because we found the places where there were no doors connecting with the wind and kind of.
Okay.
And that was the 15th of August. Okay. We slept in the Air Finish Hotel.
Oh my God. I do remember you telling me that specific one with the cardboard. I do remember that. But I didn't know it was in the kitchen, like in the area that maybe I have seen growing up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So visiting there, did that ever like disturb you? When we would go visit as kids, did it ever or you were just like, that's a part of my life that existed?
Part of my life. The interesting thing is that Stelios went on later and became a chef and came back and worked at Nice Beach. He worked in that kitchen.
Are you serious?
Where we slept that night.
Oh my God. So during this time, on the 15th, Theodoros was still, we don't know, he was fighting, like he was in the front lines, most likely. We still don't know what happened.
Yeah, we had no idea where he was at that point.
So really it was just all of you except Theodoros at that point.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And for the next few nights we would sleep there. Okay.
Yeah. That's
where we slept.
Yeah.
There was no other place for us to go. We didn't have a vehicle, so we couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. What did you eat?
Yes. What did we eat? That's a good question. The chef that was related to the owners was there. He was a chef trained in England, and he had some supplies in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for the first 3 days, he wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't do much for us. Maybe for the first 2 days, he wouldn't do anything for us. So we would. Stelios went out, and he went scouting into the fields, and he found tomatoes left over from the people, like the small ones that they didn't harvest them to sell them. He found cucumber here and there, and he brought them back, and we were basically we looked for bread, okay, and there was no bread in the area because there was one public bakery that was the biggest bakery in the area in Paralimni, but the son of the owner was killed in the exchange of fire.
Oh my God!
And on the front line.
Yeah.
And the family were mourning, and they wouldn't open up to make bread.
I don't blame them.
So I mean, people in their homes might have made their own bread.
Yeah.
But the rest of us who didn't have a place to make bread, we couldn't do anything. So
Wow.
Yeah. So that was very difficult. I think the first couple of days were very difficult. And then the chef decided to open the kitchen. I think the third day maybe.
Finally went in to help.
Yeah, I think he helped the family, the immediate family first, and then he realized that he has to take care of us too. So he opened the kitchen, and this is what he did, because I went in and I helped him a little bit to prepare the food. So what he did is that he had like a sack of potatoes, but he figured this famine may go on for a long time.
Yeah.
So he took like 10 potatoes, chopped them up into small, tiny pieces, and threw them into this big pot, huge pot. Filled the pot with water, huge pot. Okay.
Yeah.
Then he went into the refrigerator freezer, and he had some meat, but he didn't know how long this famine would last. So he took a small piece of meat and chopped it up. He's feeding 60, 70 people, so chopped it up.
Tiny pieces.
Tiny little pieces. Threw them in this huge kazani, the pot, huge pot.
Like a cauldron, like a huge, like massive
cauldron.
Yeah.
And he and then took whatever else he could find, little rice, a little whatever he could find, a few vegetables that he had. He would chop them up, throw them all in, boil it for an hour or whatever, and then he would serve it to us as soup. It was primarily flavored water, because you would be very lucky to get a piece of the meat or get a piece of the potato.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But we survived on that. At least he got
you something. And he said he tried to feed 60
were very
people.
Thankful.
Yeah.
We're very thankful because, we didn't expect anything.
How else were you going to eat anything? Well, we're going to stop on that day.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to, on the next episode, we're going to dive into the settlement in Ayia Napa and how you guys kind of function. But wow, okay. Well.
Yeah, this was tough. The toughest days were the first 5.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that there was no food,
and
there was no place to sleep, and and it was very difficult. It was really, harsh for us. And the news kept coming from the front line that they killed people, that they raped women, that they destroyed churches, that they destroyed homes, that and more refugees kept coming in that direction.
Yeah. So you're being bombarded with like negative news, obviously, while not in your home, while in a foreign place, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, because that was foreign land to you, that part. You guys had never been there. You don't know anybody there.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're worried about Theodoros, my older brother, because we don't know where he is.
Didn't know what was, if anything.
We don't know if he's alive. We don't know. He was on the front line too. He was on the front line at Moghostos. So we're not sure what happened. Did they stay behind? Did the Turks capture them? Did they exchange fire? Did they get killed? It was really very difficult for my parents, especially.
I was going to ask you, did anybody, like even Yaya and Bapu, did they ever have a moment of breaking, or were they we're just going to keep doing what we're doing? Was there a moment where maybe Tia Varvara or Theostelio or anybody was had fallen apart at that point, or were you guys kind of level-headed at that point, trying to just make it through?
I think we're trying to make it through, and we were all a bit depressed about this, and we're all kind of unsure about the future.
Right.
It's...
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't even know what's going to happen today.
True, yeah.
So
you don't even know if you're going to eat today.
So we were actually discussing, what if the Turks decided to come all the way to us?
Where would you go?
Yeah, where would we go? So the discussion went on with everybody, and they all said, the bases, the British bases, because they're not going to enter the British bases, right?
That's a very good idea. That's interesting. Yeah.
So we were waiting to hear that the line was violated. What line? There was no line. What happened is that the Turks
keep calling it the line.
Yeah,
but there
the Turks took whatever they wanted, and nobody stopped them. Okay, and they stopped at some point.
Yeah.
And we granted them everything because there was nobody to. What happened is that several people decided on the second day, on the 15th, to go back to Verinia, south of Amoghostos.
Okay.
And just set up guard, okay, with some rifles that they had, a couple of machine guns. Okay? So when they saw the Turks coming our way, they shot at them, and the Turks stopped right there, and they kept whatever they had. If they allowed them to come, they would have taken more.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the way it happened. And these are civilians. They were civilians. They were not.
I know, but they had the power to go all the way through.
Oh yeah, the Turks had the power to do anything they wanted.
Yeah. Well, they still do.
Well, they didn't have. Their plan was not to take the whole island. The plan was to take.
The northern
They actually took a lot more than they expected to take.
Yeah.
They wanted to take the airport in Lefkosia, but the Canadian United Nations forces, they defended the airport in Lefkosia, and a lot of them got killed. So I granted to the Canadian United Nations peacekeeping force that was in Cyprus at the time. Canada. They fought very bravely, and they kept that airport.
Wow.
And it stayed under the auspices of the United Nations until today. It's like it's like a green zone. It's like a demilitarized zone.
Yeah.
So that was the international airport of Lefkosia, and therefore we didn't have an airport after that.
I see.
Okay, so while all of this is happening, Cyprus has no airport.
So you can't even leave the country.
You can't even leave the country.
If you wanted to. If you could.
Yeah.
You couldn't even, you didn't have a choice.
So what I learned later, and we understood what was happening, is that those who were British citizens or American citizens or whatever, if they went to the American embassy in Lefkosia or they went to the British bases, they will arrange for them to leave through the British bases.
I see.
So they took out of the island all the British and American citizens that requested to leave. But the rest of us had no place to go, so we were stuck there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. We keep referring to the Green Line and the northern side, and people don't really know what that is. Well, the northern side is the northern side of the island, but the Green Line is now considered the separation between the occupied and the non-occupied. Yeah. So if we ever refer to that, at least they would. Yeah, you guys would know what we're talking about. Okay, Ba.
Yeah.
We're gonna stop there.
Yes. Yeah. Let's stop there.
And then we'll continue. We'll continue next episode too. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and hopefully next week. I'm hoping each week we'll do a new one. So we'll be back really soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.